Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your workout program, diet plan, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. All right, let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick. If someone wants to do a detox cleanse, do you recommend any particular one or the best way to do it? The reason I'm asking is to get rid of a lot of toxins in your body, and the second is if you feel fat and bloated. This might not be a popular belief, but I'm actually not a huge advocate of doing detoxes or cleanses. I don't really believe in them, okay? I feel that if you have toxins in your body, are you feeling bloated or fat, as in maybe retaining water? It has to do with your diet. And, to go through this whole detox and cleanse, you go on the juice cleanse, all these different detoxes that are out there with supplementations. And to me, it's ridiculous. You just have to go back to the basics and clean up your diet. Because if you're dealing with toxins in your body, chances are it's a dietary nutritional problem that's causing the issue, right? So rather than go through this whole detox or go through this cleanse, like a wild rose cleanse or something like this, why not just go back to the basics and clean up your actual nutritional plan? Get clean, wholesome foods. Get rid of the junk, get rid of the processed foods, get rid of the refined carbs, the processed sugars. All these things create toxins in the body. So whenever I have a client come to work with me on their nutritional plan, I always ask for a 3-day food log, 1 or 2 days during the weekdays and 1 day on the weekend, so I can see how their diet changes from a weekend versus a weekday. And then I can actually see where to make the changes in someone's plan. So if you're someone who struggles with excessive bloating, for example, yeah, it could be genetics maybe, but most likely it's your diet. There's something in your diet that's causing that issue. Right. And, all it takes is to record your actual meals, take, a food log, you put on your phone, just keep a record of what you're eating, and then go back and say, okay, what's causing this issue? What time of day do I feel bloated? What time of day does my stomach bother me? Am I having certain degrees of IBS? Right. And I tell you, it's always diet related, always. So when I put people on clean, whole food diets, rarely, if ever, do they have any problems with excessive bloating, water retention, or toxins in the body. People feel good. They feel energized. They sleep better because they're fueling their body properly with not just the proper macronutrients, but the proper micronutrients, the quality of the food they're consuming. Okay. So I'm not a believer in detoxes. I really never have been when it comes to cleansing out the body. I just think you need to jump back onto a clean, whole foods nutritional plan. Don't eat out as much, right? Avoid the fast food places, right? You want, like I said, avoid the refined carbohydrates, avoid the processed sugars. These are things you have to watch. And the only way to really keep track of what you're doing is to keep a 3-day log, unless you're working with an online coach like myself that can help you put together a nutritional plan, because that's the only way you can go back and review, okay, over the last 3 days, what's my diet look like? And how was I feeling? And that will really tell a story, because it's just like I tell people, if money goes missing, there's usually a paper trail. Where'd the money go? Follow the paper trail. So if something's going on with your stomach, and like I said, if you're experiencing excessive bloating, you're experiencing gas, water retention, feeling lethargic all the time, a lot of that time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, it's related to your dietary nutritional habits. So I would focus on just cleaning up the diet, not going on this whole detox or cleanse. Clean up the diet, get most of your food from wholesome food sources, keep your sugar, and this includes natural sugar, to no more than 25 to 30 grams per day. And within 2 or 3 weeks, you should actually notice a difference with your body. And if you don't, then you might want to go get checked and see if you do have certain degrees of IBS, right? And if that's the case, you might need to go on certain medications, but I really don't think detoxes and cleanses are the answer. I think they're a short-term answer. I don't think they fix the problem long-term, because chances are once the detox or cleanse is done, you're going to go back to your old habits again. So I really don't think that's it's a long-term solution. Short-term fix, sure. Long-term solution, no. So detox and cleanses, I don't do them. I don't recommend them. I know they work for some people, but I'm all about going back to the basics, whole clean foods. All right, next question. Nick, could you please tell me how I should be taking Ozempic and how much Ozempic I should be taking each week to lose weight? Okay, well, first of all, you shouldn't be taking Ozempic unless you're diabetic or pre-diabetic. That should go without saying. But if you are someone who is taking Ozempic and you're taking underground stuff, I mean, you know the risks that come with that, obviously. I hope you know the risks that come with that. But if you're going to take Ozempic, from everything I've read, you'd want to start your dosages at about 0.25 milligrams per week, one shot per week. If you're taking Ozempic, you know it comes with a pen, but if you're taking it underground or you're taking it from some underground lab stuff was made in the bathtub, who knows, you're going to take it with an insulin syringe, okay? And always remember that this is going to go under the skin, just like if you were to take a growth hormone shot, not into the muscle, okay? That's very important. So if you are going to take it, do not put it in the muscle, okay? But I always tell people with anything, start with the least amount possible, because there are side effects, as I've mentioned numerous times on this channel about Ozempic, because I get a lot of questions about Ozempic, and it's usually from people who are not prescribed Ozempic. So I don't like to give advice to people who are not prescribed a certain drug, but if you're going to use it properly. So start with the bare minimum, 0.25 milligrams per week, one per week. You don't need more than that. And then you can gradually build it up to no more than 2 milligrams per week. But that's over the course of, I believe, about an 8-week period. Okay. But again, you have to be so careful because there are side effects with Ozempic, vomiting, nausea. I have people who I know take Ozempic who tell me this have loss of appetite. They have no appetite. And what happens when you don't eat? Yes, you lose weight, but you know what? You also lose muscle. And I've said this about Ozempic before. Ozempic does not discriminate between fat and muscle. It will burn both. I compare it to the fat-burning drug Cytomel. Cytomel will actually just burn fat and muscle. It's like acid. It'll just burn everything. So if you're taking Ozempic and you're taking a lot of it, you might notice that your strength in the gym starts to go down. And that's because you're losing muscle. So keep that in mind if you are taking the drug and you're not taking the drug that's prescribed from a doctor. And I would strongly advise anyone who is using this to be very careful because it's a very powerful drug. And there's a lot of people coming out now who've said they've taken Ozempic and they've had a lot of nasty side effects from taking it. So I'm very clear on my stance with Ozempic. I think the only people that should be taking Ozempic are type 2 diabetics, or if you're pre-diabetic. That's about it, though. I really don't think the average person who needs to lose like 30 to 50 pounds should be taking Ozempic. I don't think it's a good idea. But if you're going to take it in small dosages, no more than 0.25 milligrams per week for at least the first 4 weeks, and just watch your side effects. Just monitor them because nausea is a huge one for most people. I believe it's about 40 to 60% of people experience nausea within the first few weeks of taking Ozempic. Okay. And the people I know who are taking it, they notice it quite often as well. Loss of appetite, right? So just be careful. And like I said, I wouldn't take Ozempic unless it's prescribed from a doctor, you're type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic. Next question. Hi, Nick. Would you ever consider working at a gym again if your business slowed down? My PT business has really slowed down the past few months, and I'm considering going to work as a trainer for a large gym in order to get more clients. I've never worked for a gym. I started as an independent contractor, and fortunately for me, I've been able to remain as an independent contractor for the past 20 plus years. So I've told the story how I started in the personal training industry. I built my clientele the natural way, very organically. I did it through referrals. Back when I started, we used Craigslist as a marketing tool. I gave out free sessions, would get clients that way, and then those clients would refer clients to me, and it kind of just had a domino effect. But while I was doing that, I was working in the restaurant industry, the club industry. So I was still supplementing my income from working, serving tables, bussing tables, hosting, bouncing at nightclubs. So that's how I started making my money. So I was able to afford to start my business. And eventually, once I got busy enough with clients, I left the service industry. So I've never actually worked for a gym. But to answer your question, if you're asking me if I ever would work for a gym, no, I wouldn't. I would just focus on trying to continue to generate as much clientele as possible. And whether that means you have to give free sessions, you have to give discounted rates, you even have to offer your current clientele referral programs like we do. We offer a referral program to all our clients. If they refer a client to us and that client books like a 24 or 30 session package, the client that refers that new client to us gets 1 or 2 free sessions. So we have different promotions like that. So that's an incentive for our clients to refer more business to us. So rather than just throwing the towel in and go work for someone else, try to get creative with how you can grow your business, strategize, right? It's hard being a business owner, especially in this climate, especially if a potential recession coming. But I went through this back in 2008 with the financial crisis and we survived. So it's just being strategic with your business plan. If you want to go work for a gym, go for it. But if you're asking me personally if I would, absolutely not. I don't like these corporate gyms that push sales on people. I never want my clients to feel locked into packages. All my clients know that if they book a package with myself or one of the trainers, if they're not happy with the services, we always refund money for unused sessions. We've never had to do that, but it's there. It's on our website. So we don't lock people into contracts. We don't say you have to train with us 4 or 5 times a week. You buy your package, you train for us for as long as you like. And that's the way I've always done it. And, the reason I do that is because I believe in our service. I believe in our product. So because I'm so confident in the service that we provide, I'm not worried about people leaving us, or I'm not worried about people asking for refunds, or I'm not worried about my business slowing down. The reality is that could happen. But if it started to happen, I personally wouldn't just give up. And I don't think if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a business owner, I don't think you could go back to becoming an employee if you've owned and operated your business for a certain amount of time. It's very difficult to do that. I'm used to running things a certain way. So it'd be very hard for me to start taking orders from someone else to do it a different way. Another thing is I'm very fortunate because I actually get to work with people that I like working with. So all my clients that I work with, whether it's in-house or online, I enjoy working with them. I find that, there's no stress on me. They're happy to come and see me and I'm happy to work with them. When I worked in the service industry, I had to serve people who I didn't like. I had to serve people who were assholes. So I don't have to deal with that anymore. If you work in a big corporate gym, you might not get to choose your clients. They'll choose your clients for you. So you might get a few assholes on your roster. For me personally, I don't want to work with an asshole. So I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I don't have to work with someone who's difficult or who's high maintenance or who's demanding or who's a constant complainer. If that's the case, I would just refund them their package and say, I'm not meant for you. You're very draining for me. You're taking too much out of my day. So I don't want to work with you. I probably wouldn't tell them that. I'd probably just say we're not a good fit. But that's what I mean. So that's one of the advantages to being a business owner in this industry is you actually get to work with people you enjoy working with. So for me, if I'm working 12 hours a day on the floor, it's no stress for me. Every single person that I work with, I like working with. The staff I work with, I like working with. So would I entertain the thought of ever working for a gym? No, I wouldn't. But if you feel that's the best option for you, I'd go for it. But again, before making that decision, I would honestly ask yourself, have you tried everything possible to generate more business? And as I said, sometimes that takes things as throwing out referral programs for your current clientele. Paying for some online marketing, whether that's through Facebook or Instagram. I personally have never done that, but I know it has worked for a lot of trainers and a lot of gyms, right? Giving free sessions, giving discounted sessions. These are all things I did when I first started my business, and that's how I grew it organically. So I wouldn't, but if you feel that's the best option for you, by all means, go work for a big, large gym. Okay. Next question. Hi, Nick. I love peanut butter, but I can't stop overeating it when it's in my house. I think this might be a trigger food for me. Is there an alternative protein source that you can recommend that is not as high in calories? Well, you shouldn't really think of peanut butter as a protein source. I mean, yes, there is protein in it, but how you classify something as whether it's a protein source, carbohydrate source, or fat source is when you look at the nutritional label, what it contains the most of. So for example, peanut butter, natural peanut butter is about 8 grams of fat per 1 tablespoon. I think it's about 3 to 4 grams of protein per tablespoon and maybe 1 or 2 grams of carbs, right? Depending on the natural peanut butter you purchase. So therefore, we've classified as a fat because it's higher in fats. So it's what we call a fatty protein source, okay? Similar to salmon, right? Salmon contains more fat than protein, so it's a fatty protein source. So if you're someone who has a problem with peanut butter, and I've actually had a few clients with this issue, I'll put peanut butter on their plan and I'll say 1 teaspoon or 1 tablespoon, and they'll just go for like 3 or 4, or they'll give me one big heaping tablespoon. I'm like, no, that's like 3 tablespoons just on 1 tablespoon. I mean, an actual tablespoon. So if you're someone who tends to overeat on things like peanut butter, then yeah, you're going to have to switch up your fatty protein source. So if that's the case, you don't necessarily want to find just another food that is, let's say, like say chicken breast, for example, or broccoli or rice, because those are not fatty protein food sources, or oatmeal, cream of rice, Ezekiel bread. Those are not forms of fatty protein sources. So you're going to have to replace a fatty protein source with a fatty protein source. So one thing I do with a lot of my clients who find that they get certain addictions to certain foods, I'll switch up the protein source, or I'll switch up the carbohydrate source, or in this case, I'll switch up the fatty protein source. So for something like peanut butter, what I'd recommend you do is take out the peanut butter completely and then start adding things like extra virgin olive oil onto your meals. Yeah, it's not going to taste the same, but you're still going to get that same feeling that you would get from adding healthy fats into your diet plan. So you'll still feel fuller for a longer period of time. It doesn't just have to be olive oil. It could be something like supplementing with omega-3 eggs. Instead of doing a tablespoon of peanut butter, throw in 2 omega-3 eggs. You'll still get the benefit from the yolks, from the fats, and it's roughly about the same amount. Two omega-3 eggs, about the same equivalent to a 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, natural peanut butter. Avocado, that's another great fatty protein source. So the goal is to supplement a fatty protein source for another fatty protein source. That's what I'd recommend, because you want to feel those effects from the healthy fats. So again, my recommendation when it comes to peanut butter, and I've had this with people in the past, quite often with women I work with, they get a really big craving for peanut butter and they can't stop eating it. So I say, okay, we're taking out the peanut butter. We're going to supplement it with more olive oil. And from a caloric perspective, it's about roughly the same. Actually, there's more calories in 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil than there is in a tablespoon of peanut butter. However, you don't have to worry about those calories, because it's going to allow you to stay fuller for a longer period of time. And that's what the whole idea with adding fats into your diet is all about. So anyone who's worked with me on a nutritional plan knows that I'm a huge advocate of incorporating lots of healthy fats into the diet plan, just for that reason, so people don't overeat. So take out the peanut butter, add in some extra virgin olive oil to your meals. You might have to even add in extra virgin olive oil to all your meals for the first few weeks, just so you can get used to staying fuller for a longer period of time, and then you can cut it back down. If you don't like virgin olive oil, you can use omega-3 eggs. If you don't like eggs, you can use avocado, right? Or you can use a little bit of salmon as a supplementation. So something that has a fatty protein source. Almonds, perfect. Walnuts, right? I think you can consume about 12 almonds would be equivalent to 1 tablespoon of peanut butter. So have almonds as a snack, right? But that's what I'd recommend. But don't take out the peanut butter and just add in a carbohydrate or protein source, because I promise you that's not going to work. You're still going to be craving the fats. All right. Next question. Hey, Nick, is it possible to lift weights without getting too bulky? I hate that word bulky. I despise that word. I despise it as much as I despise the word toning. Bulky and toning are not words that I like to use when it comes to building muscle and losing fat. You can definitely lift weights without coming too bulky. Okay. And I know that's difficult to hear when it's someone like me saying it, because if you're asking that question, you probably don't want to look like me, because I would be classified as somewhat bulky. But you have to remember, it's all about how you train and your genetics. So for example, if you are lifting incredibly heavy weights in the gym and you are going for that, 6 to 8 reps, yeah, you're going to build somewhat of a bulky muscle belly. Okay. That thick muscle belly. But if you're looking for that lean, hard, dense muscle bellies, which is what I try to go for now, especially as I'm getting older, I don't want to be big anymore. I'd like to be more of a lean, tighter physique, more, as people say, toned, but I prefer to say more defined, hard muscle belly, dense muscle. Keep your reps high. Not 30 or 40, but keep your reps between that 12 to 15 rep range. In some cases, even 20 reps. That doesn't mean that your weights are going to be super light either, though. But as long as you're keeping your weights moderately heavy, keeping your reps in that 12 to 15 to maybe even 20 rep range, and resting very little in between sets, so you're training very intensely, you won't get bulky, okay? And to be honest, most people don't have the genetics to get bulky. When you look at guys who are super bulky, and some women too, a lot of times, like the ones who are really bulky, a lot of that just comes down to genetics potential drug usage. You don't know if they're using anabolic steroids or not. Dietary habits. There's a lot of people who train every day, but they have a shitty diet. So they'll go do a leg workout and then they'll go after to McDonald's and have 2 cheeseburgers, a Coke, and fries. I know a lot of guys that do that and women that do that. And what happens then is that they're training every day, so they're developing muscle, but they're also eating shit, so they have that layer of fat covering the muscle. So it does look bulky. So if you don't want that bulky look, you have to make sure that your diet is in check, that you're training intensely, you're keeping your weights moderately heavy, not super light, but you're keeping those reps between 12, 15, 20 reps max. And you won't get bulky. I have a lot of women I work with who've worked with me for 20 years. They're not bulky at all. They look great. Same thing with the guys. So when I hear of people getting bulky, it's usually related to poor nutrition, training with very low reps like powerlifters do. And honestly, sometimes genetics, drug usage, those are 2 very, very common factors when it comes to how a muscle belly is going to look. So to answer that question, yes, you can absolutely lift weights without becoming bulky. Okay. Hi, Nick. What are the best muscle groups to train together if I'm working out in the gym 3 times a week? Good question. So that is a good question, because when you go to the gym, you always want to have a game plan. You can't just go to the gym and think random thoughts of, oh, I'm going to start off with chest and now I'm going to go on to shoulders and then maybe do some back and I'll do some arms and, oh, the squat machine, the Smith machine is available, so I'm going to do some Smith machine squats. No, you have to have a game plan. It's crucial. Okay. And yeah, sometimes you have to change that game plan a little bit, especially if you work in a commercial gym and it's really busy and the piece of equipment you want is not available. You might have to find an alternative exercise. However, that alternative exercise should still be working the muscle groups that you plan to work on that specific day. So when it comes to a 3-day training split, my recommendation would be a split, like say day 1, chest and back. That's a great, those are 2 great muscle groups to add together because it's agonist versus antagonist muscle groups. So, if you could do 3 or 4 exercises of chest and then finish off your workout with 3 or 4 exercises of back. Or if you're in a private facility, you have the luxury to circuit train, you can superset chest and back, go back and forth, do a bench press with a row, and then do a dumbbell press with a lat pull down, and do a dumbbell fly with a pullover. So you can definitely superset if you have that luxury of training in a private facility. But if you don't, just the basic straight set your work. So my recommendation would be like day 1, you do a chest and back. Day 2, you do shoulders and arms. I find shoulders and arms are a great combination because you can do your shoulders and at the same time, you can work those muscle bellies that are close to your anterior deltoid, medial deltoid, and posterior deltoid with your brachialis and your triceps. So again, biceps and triceps are agonist versus antagonist muscle groups. So a workout like that, you might want to start off with your shoulder routine, dumbbell shoulder press, dumbbell lateral raises, rear delt flies, maybe some upright rows, and throw in like 2 or 3 exercises for your biceps, dumbbell curls, barbell curls, rope hammer curls, finish up with some triceps, straight bar press downs, some cable press downs, maybe some easy bar skull crushers. I'm just throwing out exercises here, but that would be a great mix for a shoulder and arm workout. And then at the end, what I would do on your day 3, I finish up with a leg and ab workout. Legs and abs I find work great together. I wouldn't necessarily superset them, but I find that, you start off, let's say the squat rack, and then you go down to leg press or hack squats or ball wall squats, walking lunges. And then you can finish up with some lying hanging leg raises or some hanging knee raises, reverse crunches, sit-ups, leg raises, bicycles. That is a perfect combination because when you're doing your legs are very difficult, right? I would start with your legs and then just finish up with some basic core movements for your abdominal region. And there's your 3-day split. So chest and back day 1, shoulders, biceps, and triceps day 2, legs and abs day 3. Keep your workouts to 45 to 60 minutes max, and you'll notice that you get great results from that training routine. Okay, so it's very important, not just the sequences of your exercises, but the muscle groups that you add together. For example, in my opinion, it wouldn't make sense doing a chest and shoulder workout together because when you're doing a lot of chest movements, you're using your shoulders. So therefore, if you start off your workout with a bunch of chest presses, the time you get to your shoulders are already going to be tired indirectly from all the chest movements. So better to separate those 2 muscle groups on 2 separate days. Same reason I wouldn't recommend training back and biceps together. A lot of people train back and biceps together, but I don't advise people to do that because when you're training your back, you are going to use your biceps a little bit. You can't turn them off. Even if you're using grabbers like we sell, you're still going to use them a little bit. So you train your back first. By the time you get to your biceps, they're already going to be pre-exhausted. You train your biceps first, you're not going to be able to pull as much weight with your back for your lats. Your lats are not going to get an efficient workout. So therefore, keep those 2 muscle groups separated. So I would definitely recommend, if you're going to train 3 days a week or 4 days a week, whatever you're training, just make sure that you combine the proper muscle groups together. Don't just throw anything together, because that's not a good way to train. It's a good way to get injured, and it's a good way to get really sore. So it's going to be really hard to go back to the gym the next day or even the second day. Okay, because you're always going to be sore because you didn't train the muscle groups in the correct sequence or the correct combination. I've seen this before. So train them like that, and I promise you, you'll see the results. Okay. Another training question. Hi, Nick. Do you have any tips on how to get rid of love handles? I've been doing side bends with a 25-pound dumbbell for the past few weeks. Will these help? Those will definitely not help. Take them out immediately. That's a really bad exercise to do. So a side dumbbell bend, for those that don't know, here, I'll stand up for a second. I'll use my water bottle. So it's doing a movement like this with a dumbbell, okay? I see people do this in the gym all the time. You might feel like you're doing something, but all you're doing is you're building out your obliques this way. So I would strongly advise you to stop doing that exercise. I know it feels good. You're like, oh, I'm working my love handles, I'm working my obliques, my intercostals. But again, what's going to happen? What happens when a muscle, when you build it, it grows. The obliques and the intercostals, they grow out this way. So by you stimulating that with muscle, all what's going to happen is your love handles are going to come out this way. You might notice that your it gets a little bit harder and firmer, but when you're wearing a t-shirt, you're not going to have that V taper because you're going to go out. So you don't want to do those. So I would take those out immediately. I'd also recommend, when you're training your abdominal region, do not use weights. Not a good idea, because it's also going to grow. Like, let's say you're doing sit-ups with a plate on your chest. Your transverse abdominals, in this case, which is the primary muscle group being worked in the sit-up, is going to grow outwards. So it's going to give you that look of a protruding abdomen region. You're going to look like a turtle. So you don't want that either. Okay, so you want to, I promise you, you want to stay away from adding any extra resistance to your ab routine. Abs should just be worked with just body weight. Okay, body weight's perfect. So if you're looking to get rid of the love handles, you want to incorporate more exercises for your intercostals and obliques. Bicycles are great. Reverse crunches are great. If you're training for a training partner, towel crunches on the Swiss ball are fantastic. Lying leg raises are excellent. Hanging leg raises, and if you can't keep your legs straight, you can also do them bringing your knees to your chest. If you don't know what any of these exercises look like, you can go on my online coaching app. You can download the app for free. It's on the App Store, Forever Fit Performance. And all you have to do is type in abdominal routine, and you'll find all those ab exercises, videos of them, of me performing each one. So there's no magic exercise. Obviously, diet's going to play a role. I mean, it should go without saying that your diet needs to be in check in order to get rid of any body fat, because that's what love handles are. They're body fat. So you need to be burning more calories than you're taking in. So that's key. So if your diet's not in check, don't even think about ab exercises right away. But overall, if you're trying to get rid of that area, just keep doing those ab exercises I mentioned. There's no magic exercise, but I would get rid of those side bends. I used to do those when I was, I think, 14 or 15 years old, until one day I had an older bodybuilder come up to me and just look at me and say, "What are you doing?" And gave me shit for doing them. And he explained to me why they're not effective. And then it made sense to me, actually. And the more I researched on the intercostals and obliques and how they grow outwards, I'm like, well, that's the last thing I want. I don't want to look like a square in a t-shirt. I'd like to have that V taper, that small waist, and my lats come out. So if you want to keep that look, whether you're a man or a woman, do not do side bends with weights. Okay, you might feel something, but I promise you, they're not going to get the results that you want. And especially if you have a layer of fat down there, it's just going to protrude out more. So stop doing that exercise immediately. Okay, a few more questions. Okay. Hi, Nick. Do you think social media is a positive or negative social tool to use for people showcasing their results with their bodies? I'm finding it very discouraging when I see others achieving results that I'm not getting in the gym. And as a result, I have become less motivated to work out and follow a good diet. Ooh. Yeah, I can see two sides to this. So I think the people that you're talking about, the ones that are constantly showcasing their physique, they're showcasing their results, they're showing their workouts in the gym. I don't necessarily think they're showing off. I mean, some people might be, but I think some people are just really proud of what they're achieving in the gym. And they're thinking that maybe, you know, sometimes people do this for self-validation, absolutely. But other times people are doing it to help motivate others. I mean, anytime I put up a post, I'm very careful to showboat. I want to try to help to motivate and inspire people to work out, to follow a clean diet and live a healthy lifestyle. I don't want to make anyone feel bad and shame them about their bodies. So I'm always very careful as to what I put out online, because I know there are people out there who struggle with their diets and have a hard time going to the gym. And the last thing they want to see is someone rubbing it in their face, showing them, look at my abs or look at my arms and look how great I look. And, so you don't want to showcase it in that way. But if you want to motivate others and you can say, hey, look, I used to look like this, but now I look like this. And it's because I've been doing this. I see no problem with that. If you're proud of your results, I have no problem with that. I mean, if it's every day and you're constantly taking selfies in the mirror in the gym and you're constantly posting training videos and you're constantly showing your meal preps, yeah, that might be a bit too much. But, if it's a post every now and then showcasing your results, I've liked photos from people who, even guys who will take a shirtless selfie and say, hey, look, I used to be at 42% body fat and now I'm at 18% body fat. I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm like, good for you. That's amazing. And I like that. That's inspiring, right? It's motivating. It's motivating for a lot of people who do struggle with their weight to see that. But if it's every day and it's people constantly showing their bodies, well, that could get a little bit discouraging for someone who is finding it challenging to go to the gym. So I think you got to find, if you're someone, whether you're a social media influencer or whether you work in the fitness industry, or maybe you're just someone who just likes to post photos of yourself online, I think it's important to keep in mind there are people out there that do struggle with their diet, that do struggle with that motivation to get active and get fit. And rather than constantly looking for self-validation for yourself and your results, try to teach people and motivate people that they can do this too. And I think that's the take-home message, is that whether you work in this industry or not, if you're someone who loves going to the gym and loves showing your results, by all means do it. But I think there's a way to do it that it's not putting others down. And it's not making people feel bad about themselves. And, if you yourself are finding that it's discouraging to look at these photos and these videos, unplug from social media. I tell you that for me personally, like, I'm not really, I'm on social media, but rarely am I actually cruising Instagram. And I've had people say, why don't you like my photos? And I'll just be honest and say, well, I'm not really looking at your photos. I use my Instagram and I use my Facebook for business purposes only. I just put stuff up there for the business and that's about it. So it's not that I'm disliking your photos, is I probably didn't see your photos. And that's just me, because I'm not a huge social media user when it comes to following others or looking at photos or watching reels. It's just, maybe it's a generational thing, but something that I've really never been interested in. But I do use social media as a tool. And I try to use it to not just promote my business, but promote health and wellness for others, and to motivate others to live an active and fit lifestyle through practicing training on a regular basis, consistent basis, and following a clean, wholesome nutritional plan. So I think, again, if you're going to do it right, do it classy, try to uplift people, don't shame people, don't make people feel bad about themselves because they didn't go to the gym today, don't lecture people or say, if I can do it, you can do it. No. Enough is enough when it comes to that. We don't need to be jammed down our throats all the time that, there's 24 hours in a day, you can make time for a workout. Most people have heard this before. If they want to go watch a motivational YouTube video for that, do it. But I think if you're on social media, use your platform for good. If you're trying to motivate and inspire others, by all means do it. But just make sure at the same time you're not making those people feel bad about themselves or shaming their own physiques. Because a lot of people do struggle. They do struggle to find that motivation. I have a lot of clients. That's the reason why they work with me. They can't go to the gym on their own. They need someone with them, right? Or they can't follow a clean diet. They need someone who's holding them accountable, to make sure they stay on track with their diet on a weekly basis. So it's not easy for everyone, okay? Everyone has their own struggles. So just keep that in mind when you are posting your fitness photos and your transformation photos online. Okay. Last question. Hey, Nick, I think I've hit a plateau of my training. I'm not noticing any change in my physique and my weight on the scale has remained the same. What do you recommend doing when you hit a plateau with your training? Learn to become uncomfortable. That's what I recommend. So if you hit a plateau with your training, that's on you. You're doing something wrong. I hate to say it, but you're doing something wrong. So whether that means you're not training intensely enough in the gym, whether that means you're doing the same shit over and over in the gym and expecting a different result, which, by the way, is the definition of insanity, or maybe you just gone into a slump because you're just like, you are training in the gym, but you're not really training in the gym. And what I mean by that, you're just going through the motions. And I've seen that a lot of times with people. They're just going through the motions. And the problem with that is that if you're just going through the motions, you're really not going to stimulate any new muscle growth. So this is why it's so important that when you are in the gym and training, you need to be focused. You need to be focused on your next set. And that's why I always say you can't be cruising Instagram. You can't be uploading selfies. You can't be doing all this nonsense. You got to be focused on your next set. If you're serious about getting results in the gym with your physique and you don't want to waste your time, set aside that time in the gym to just focus on your workout. It's 45 minutes to an hour. Even with people with ADHD should be able to focus on that workout, okay? If you're finding that the cell phone's a distraction, leave it in your locker. Don't bring it on the floor, okay? It's so important because what happens is if you're just going through the motions or you're not training with the utmost amount of intensity and you're just kind of doing the status quo, your body will stay at the status quo. Your results will stay at the status quo. So if you're in that, hey, I'm happy with my physique now, I'm happy with my health, and I just want to maintain, yeah, go into the gym, still train hard, but you probably don't have to overdo it. But if you're someone who's constantly looking to achieve more and you're trying to continue to enhance your results, then you have to approach each workout as if it was your last workout. And in your case, that might mean maybe you have to hire a trainer for a few weeks, teach you something new. I've done that before. If I've hit a plateau of my training, I hire one of the trainers that I work with and say, I need you to take me through a few workouts for the next few weeks, few months, because obviously I'm just doing the same thing and I'm not thinking clearly, or I'm not training intensely enough. Maybe it's your diet. Okay. But whatever it is, when you hit a plateau, it's on you. And that's when you have to start thinking, okay, how can I be creative? I have to think outside the box, where that means hiring a professional to help me for a few weeks, few months. That's why a lot of people hire trainers as well. They've hit a plateau with their physique. They're no longer losing weight. They're no longer building muscle. They're no longer motivated to go to the gym. They hire a trainer or coach, a reputable trainer or coach that can get them back on track with their plan, teach them new exercises, correct form, technique, hold them accountable for their workouts, hold them accountable for their diet. And then within 6 months, they're noticing results again. So if you're finding that you hit a plateau, that's one solution. Another solution, if you can't afford to work with a trainer or you can't afford to join a small group fitness class, find a friend or family member that will hold you accountable and will train with you. And that can sometimes help too. A good training partner, I mentioned this on the channel last week, can make all the difference. If you have someone who's committed to those workouts and will not miss a workout and will push you beyond reps that you would do, beyond weights that you would do, you will push past that plateau. But if you constantly keep doing what you're doing now, you're going to stay exactly where you are. And yeah, you're going to become unmotivated because you're not seeing results. So you got to change things up. I don't tell people they have to change things up on a weekly basis. I always tell clients, if something's working, we stick with it. Once it stops working or once we hit a plateau, then we have to change it. I do the same thing with my nutritional plans. If someone's losing 2-3 pounds a week and their goal is to lose weight, why would I change the diet? I leave the diet the same. I'm like, we're not making any changes this week. There's no reason to. We're not changing your workouts this week. You're looking great. Everything's progressing fine. But as soon as that plateau hits, and I tell every client, you're always going to hit a plateau. And you're working with me, that's on us now. It's on the client and myself. We have to take responsibility and we say, okay, now don't panic, but we now have to think strategically, what can we change? Is it the training program? Is it the diet? Is it how many sets we're doing? Do we need to reduce the volume? Do we need to increase the volume of the workouts? Do we need to incorporate drop sets, supersets, circuits? So all these things you have to play into mind. And you think, okay, well, how can I put together a new strategy to approach my training, to approach my diet? And that's how you surpass a plateau. But if you keep doing the same shit over and over again, you're never going to surpass that plateau. You're going to remain status quo and your results are going to flatline. Okay, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Tuesday, October the 3rd. As a reminder, if you do have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, to please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com or DM me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you guys for supporting my channel. Thank you for supporting my business, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.